Hi friends, and welcome to my channel. Welcome back everybody. Welcome back to the mat. Good Monday morning everybody. Happy November 4th. I have a fun earring inspiration design project for you all today. This is so fun, super pretty and very unique. And we're going to be doing 3 different techniques on this earring today. So this ought to be fun. And I think it's really, really pretty. Very, very dangly, very fall, super pretty and delicate color palette. And we are using the beads, guys, that were in my September Autumn Meadows bag. And I just love this palette. It's so soft and just a darling light color palette for fall, not so bold. So we're using many, many things. Mostly all of the beads came from that bag. You know, we only made 2 projects, guys, in that September bag. It's just, that's the way it's been going in my world. It's just, there. You know, I'm obviously prepping for the holiday season, getting ready for my 12 days of gift giving. You know, I'm launching bags every month. I'm getting ready for Black Friday and the holiday season and all the fun things I have in store. And it has just had me so busy the last many weeks that I'm like, oh my goodness, why is my September bag still so full? So this will only be our 3rd project, but it actually goes with the 5-strand necklace we made, right? And that, God, that was beautiful. And then we used a really cool technique to make a love knot bracelet. And that's probably several videos back, about a month ago. But if you're interested, I will link those videos below because this will go with that set. But I just wanted to crawl back into that bag and make some fun things. So let's get into it, guys. We're going to use 3 techniques today in order to accomplish this earring. And I just want to show you how beautifully it just, the flexibility and the dangle is really sensational. It's a really beautiful earring, and you can really use these techniques and adjust to make them larger or smaller. You could put just 1 dangle in the middle if you wanted, but I just love this. I think it's such a beautiful statement layered long earring, still trending very, very heavy in the fall here of 2024. And again, most of these beads, in fact, all of these beads, except for my spacers, you will find in your Autumn Meadows bag. And we are going to do 3 things, guys. We are going to make our own ear component here. I'll show you how to do that out of craft wire, so easy. We are going to use some beading wire to accomplish our beading teardrop portion. And then we're going to use some Coreana chain for our dangles down here. So this ought to be really, really fun. And as you can see, the result is just really flowy, very flexible, just a darling, darling earring. And if you guys sell your jewelry, this will be a hit. And you can really elevate some of your fall and holiday inspired jewelry in your shop with a design like this. Really, really pretty. I think this will sell well. Just cut a small piece of our beading wire to get going here. We do not need much. I'm kind of going to just wrap around a section, giving myself a little bit extra to crimp. So that's about a 7-inch piece. Just gonna cut a 7-inch piece of my beading wire. Then we're gonna be putting that to the side. So we need to put our dangles together first. So okay, so we have our 2 1 1/4 inch pieces. That's about right. And then we'll cut a 3rd piece that is 1 1/2, and that'll be our center dangle there. So that needs to be 1 1/2. All right, and we are done. And so I have you down to the mat. If you've never done this before, now we're done with our ruler. What we're gonna need, guys, is we are gonna need to go ahead and finish these off first before we do our stringing portion, right? Because obviously we're feeding our dangles in between. And so what we're gonna do is we are gonna grab our number 1 crimps, and we are going to take and feed a crimp On each of these pieces of wire, we're gonna take our chain nose and we'll pull that all the way, that crimp all the way very close to the edge where I have very little tail there, and we're gonna give it a nice squeeze. Just one good squeeze. That's all you need with your chain nose. And give it the tug test and we're good. We're gonna do that on all 3 pieces here. Okay, there's 2. You see I have a little bit of a tail. And on that 3rd piece too, little bit of a tail. Okay, that's what you want. And don't cut that portion off, by the way. Leave that little section of tail on all 3 of your pieces. These videos, what we do with our clamshells, guys, to reduce the bulk is open them up a little and be very, very gentle with them. And we are gonna put our pair of pliers over the loop portion. You see how you have the belly and then the loop, right? And I'm going to just rock it back and forth while I'm holding the belly, and it's just gonna snap that off. And that is a really great way to reduce the bulk, okay? So we'll do that on all of them actually right now, since we are here. It's a cool little tip and trick. Just rocking that back and forth, holding the belly strong so I don't snap the whole thing, and it just removes that one side of the loop. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all 4 are done. So you notice now how my clamshells have just 1 loop on them. Believe it or not, that does help to reduce the bulk. So we will take a clamshell. So we have the crimp on the one side, right? So we can take the clamshell and we will feed it with the belly facing up towards the crimp. And we'll just go ahead and feed that chain right through the center of your clamshell. Let it drop, pull it up, pull it right to that crimp. Go ahead and start to close it. And then grab your chain nose, squeeze the belly a little bit, nice and close. And then we will do our last one, which is a spacer bead. And then one of the howlite. And then a spacer bead, howlite. And then one of the green glass rounds, and then one of our beautiful crackle glass in the Autumn Meadows. So that's the pattern for the center dangle on the 1.5 inch piece of chain I cut. Now we'll take, and again, that's what we have. We will feed a crimp on. And you do have to, yeah, see, notice it's a little fussy. You do have to kind of hold the bottom, guys, somehow leverage it, you know, and again, do this any way you want, from the top or from the bottom. Either way, you'll accomplish the same concept. I prefer to do it this way. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just my habit. It really, really is. But any way will work, guys, either way. All right, so then let me pull that down a little bit. Okay, I don't want you turning sideways on me. And give that a nice firm squeeze. See if I got it. Okay, and then we will trim off a little bit of the excess of that tail, but still leaving some tail there so the crimp doesn't fall off. That should be good. I think that matches up pretty well. Don't mind background noise, that's you know who. Still, if you caught my Cozy Cabins video with my November bag lunch on Saturday, where I'm still cleaning up the bead strand that she flung. That's what that noise is. I'm gonna pull you down a little bit. Okay, guys, so now we have our center and our 2 side dangles. Okay, and so now what we're gonna do is just string on our pattern. And what I have is 10 11-ohs. And so I have on each bead, guys, just so you know, if you want to follow this pattern, which is so beautiful, I have 10 of the 11-ohs, 5 on each side, and then 2 of the bone beads. I have 6 of the green glass, and then 4 of the crackle glass, 8 millimeters, okay? Then up here on the accent, I had the Navajo white imitation jade, 8 millimeter rondelle, okay? That's on my beaded portion, okay? And you just would take everything and times it by 2. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into, let me flush cut that. Let's get into our beading portion. So again, these are 4 millimeter ovals. Now use any jump rings you want, but you're gonna wanna use some really thin ones. So meaning a smaller gauge. Like if you have a 24, I think these are 24 gauge, you'll wanna use like a 24 gauge smaller jump ring. The ovals are great when you're putting them on, feeding them on beading wire, because obviously the opening is on the side. You have less of a chance of them falling off, and that's why I chose them. Another little tip for you there. Okay, and so now we will feed on the jump ring of the 1 1/4 inch piece, and then another crackle bead, right? And then we will feed on the long 1 1/2 inch piece. I'm just feeding the jump ring right down my wire, and then another crackle bead, and then we will put on our last 1 1/4 inch piece right down that jump ring, and then our last crackle glass, and then we have the 3 green glass in the 6 millimeter, and then we have the bone, and that is what we have. And now I'm just going to hold one side while I feed on 5 of my 11-ohs on each side. So there's my 5 11-ohs on one side. I'll put it onto the mat so you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that is our pattern. I am going to marry up my ends of my wire here. Okay, and that's our pattern. Okay, and now I am going to keep both of my ends of my wire together here, making sure they're uncrossed. Try to get them as close as I can on the top there, and I'll feed on that Navajo white down both of my strands. Okay, and then we'll grab that 2x2 crimp tube. No, I'm sorry. Then we'll grab the clamshell, belly up again, and let that drop down, and then our 2x2 crimp. And all of that goes down both wires, those last 3. So I'll show you what I've done there. So we have finished 5 11-ohs on each side. We put the strands together. We fed on the Navajo white, the clamshell, and then our 2x2 crimp tube. Okay? And now what I'm going to want to do is just simply kind of look at everything, make sure that it looks okay and looks okay to me before I go ahead and crimp that off. And same thing, we're going to go ahead and go right on in here with our chain nose right in between that clamshell. I've got my pliers over that crimp tube. Okay, and we are going to give it a wonderful squeeze, really, really firm. And then you can always grab your clamshell, make sure that's not going anywhere, and then we will flush cut our wires. And you just want to cut them low enough to where they're going to be covered up in the clamshell, right? These cutters about had it. And that's just about one of the next videos I'm about to do, guys, is back to tools again, because I gotta tell you, these are supposed to be phenomenal, and I'm not sure so much. Now we're gonna go ahead and take that clamshell. We're gonna help it along, closing it, and I can see already by it starting to close that my wires are not cut low enough. So I'm gonna carefully open that clamshell back up and see if I can get in there a little bit closer, because you don't want your beading wire showing through your clamshell, obviously. Okay, now we'll close that up. We will grab our chain nose, put it over the belly there, squeeze it together a little bit, and our earring is done just like that, guys. That's what that looks like. Now let me show you why I have you down on the mat here. Let me show you how to make the coolest, easiest, super easy ear wire. Okay, now what we're going to do is basically we are going to cut a 20 gauge, and I have 20 gauge in silver. This is hypoallergenic and tarnish resistance. Now, you want to make sure that the portion that is going in your ear, which would be the bottom, is flush cut, right? And then you're going to want to take a nail file, guys, and you're going to want to file it just to make sure there's nothing pokey, because this is going to go through your ear, right? And so we'll just take, we have our wire right here. Let me pull you up just a little bit. You can see the full thing. Okay. And so what we're going to want to do is I am going to take my 6-step round nose 6-step bail making pliers, and I'm going to be using the biggest one here. Okay? And you can make these any size you want. And I am just going to put my wire right inside there. So I'm going to put it kind of about halfway in between my wire. Okay? And then I am going to go ahead and pull that wire all the way around on both sides, just like this. Okay, and they're almost kind of crisscrossed. Okay, that's what that looks like. Okay, and that's pretty much it, guys, right there. Okay, can you see how I did that? Okay, super, super easy. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we are going to grab our other ear wires. We want to make them the same size, right? And I'm going to see where I need to cut that, which, let's say that's right there. I'm going to flush cut, so I'm using the flush end side. Now what I'm going to do, guys, is I am going to take just right here at the edge, grab your bent nose pliers, and all you're going to do is go right to the edge, and I'm going to work towards me, and I'm just going to give it literally the slightest bend, just like that. Just a slight bend. That's all it needs. Okay? And then again, we're going to take the nail file and file the edge of that so that is nice and soft when it goes in and out of our ear. And now I am going to look and see about, I think, right there, so. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go on the smallest hole here, and we are going to take your ear wire like this, right? So that little bend is facing away from you, and the straight portion of your wire is facing you. And you're going to just kind of grab your plier, and you're gonna go and start just below where this bend is, right? So that's where I have my plier. And now I'm going to wrap this wire towards me and around and back over, just like that. Okay? See that? And you see how this wire is now kind of crossing over. Okay? And that's what we have. Okay? Now I'm going to remove my plier, and then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to trim that. that is extended past this portion of my wire. So we make our loop now. Okay, and so there's our loop, and we can always fix that, which it looks a little funky, so I will do just that. Easy fix. So I'm just gonna go right inside, and I'm going to trim that. And now I am going to make that a little bit more rounded. Just pull that wire over until it touches. So my loop is now closed. And that's what you have. And now we can go ahead and open up that loop. And we'll feed our ear wire on. And now we'll close the loop. And then the last thing I do is I go, again, put your ear wire like this, go right above your loop, take your chain nose, and we're gonna go away from us now and do a slight bend just like that. And you see what that did, how it straightened our loop on the ear wire? Maybe I'll do a tutorial on this particular technique. I think I'll do that maybe for tomorrow's video. That'd be a good idea, because this is a really cool thing to do, to make your own ear wires with some 20 gauge craft wire and some sensitive, like anything that's tarnish resistant, anything that is not going to irritate your skin, stainless steel, whatever kind of wire you can use. I like to use 20 gauge, because 20 gauge fits through the ear just perfect, okay? I think you can also use 22 gauge. So 20 or 22 gauge you can use for your ear wire. And that's what we have, guys. There we go. I'll pull you down to the mat and show you. That's what we have. And again, so they're gonna go in our ears like this, right? And notice how my loop, because of how we made them, right? Which is the loops to the side. When we put them in our ears, they will face forward because the clamshell is facing forward there on both of them. So you see how that clamshell is facing forward. And that's what we have. Our lovely earrings. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed and are inspired. Again, I'll link some of these supplies in the video. But guys, whatever you have in your stash, use it. But for those of you that got Autumn Meadows from September, I hope this inspires you, or any of my bags, really. Even the November bag, Cozy Cabins, which by the way is also sold out. Thank you guys so much. And it is en route. It left the building on Saturday 2 days ago. So that is en route to all of you that bought that bag. So you could use any of the components in that bag as well to make some beautiful earrings. I love this. I might make another pair, but I really love it with the Coreana chain. I hope you guys have a phenomenal Monday, and thank you so much for watching. Until next video, friends, be blessed.